Hi there, and welcome to Fantasy for the Ages, the show where father and son sit down and talk about something in fantasy books. I'm the son of that equation, Zach.
And I'm the father, Jim. Thanks for being with us here today. Getting it right out of the way off the bat. If you're enjoying our content, you like hanging out with us, we invite you to support us on Patreon. Find us at Fantasy for the Ages and, help us out. Help us keep it going. A little bit of financial support also, besides just the yay, they like us, it gives us the funds to do some extra things, which we're constantly exploring so we can make this content even better for you.
Absolutely.
I'd also invite you, to jump on to Apple Podcast and give us a rating there, maybe even throw a review. Spread the love a little bit. Thank you so much for doing that. Now, with that little stuff out of the way, Zach,
How you doing, Dad?
Today?
Jinx.
Nah, I said it first.
Yeah, sure.
Sorry.
I'm doing pretty well. Rachel's parents are in town, so we had fajita night with them.
And you're still doing pretty well.
Yeah,
so that's good.
Exactly. No, it's a good fun time. As far as I'm aware, they like me well enough, and I'm gonna go with that until I learn otherwise. But that's how I'm doing. How are you doing, Dad?
I'm doing well. I'm looking at the Discord and just waiting to see the responses there. Oh, okay. I won't comment on that. That's the kind of stuff where you got to be with us here live to enjoy the fun, because we won't reference everything that shows up in the Discord. I'm doing great today. I inherited a new bed, an old but new bed. We're helping Melissa, your sister, start getting out of her apartment. She's going to be moving just next week.
All across the country.
Yeah, we accepted the donation of her IKEA bed, which came apart a lot easier than putting it together. Any of you listeners, if you're familiar with what it's like to build something from IKEA, you know how trepidatious that can be. But thankfully, it came right apart.
Now, I would like to point out, because I believe our listeners deserve to hear it, you are much more IKEA challenged than I am.
I've come to hate IKEA.
And our proof of this is when we built the other bed that we built from IKEA currently in your house.
Oh, you're not going to tell that story,
I am,
are you?
Because your job was reading the instructions and my job was doing all the stuff. We did most of the stuff. And then we went, what does this piece go? It's supposed to slide in there. You missed step 2.
Maybe it was all the foreign language it was written in. Maybe that was it. Can I blame that?
No, because there's no words. IKEA instructions are just pictures. But we definitely had to take
that was a bit of a mess.
Large section apart and have you...
But we did it.
Yeah, we did it. And it ended up being great. But
you did it.
I have not trusted you with instructions quite the same ever since.
Okay, so moving on from things like that, what are you drinking today, Zach?
I am drinking something that I'm going to affectionately call KFC because I think it's funny. It's my Kentucky-fueled coffee, which is to say it's just Irish coffee if you used bourbon instead of Irish whiskey.
Okay, works for me.
I think it's fun.
I made a Wattail for today. It's on our drink recipes channel already, the Elayne Rum Runner, which is basically just a kind of rum runner, but we're going to spend some time on the Elayne today in our episode, so thought something along those lines would be good.
What makes it
tasty?
Specifically Elayne?
Because people on the Elayne sail boats, and sometimes people who sail boats are pirates, and pirates like rum.
We'll go with it.
If you'd like to know how to make one for yourself, check out our drink recipe channel or find us on Instagram where we post these as well.
All right,
some notes for today.
What do we got?
We finished our Tri-Reader tournament. It was great. A lot of fun. The champion then was the Twitter account of Gleeman Twitch.
Congratulations.
Goes with the Gleeman's Apprentice podcast. Yep. Listeners who've been with us for a while, they know that Twitch and Mandycat of that podcast are former guests with us on our show way back at episode 47 when we rounded up the Great Hunt.
I get a nice little vicarious bit of pride knowing that friends won.
That's right.
And it wasn't because of my votes, or at least not only my votes. I only had like 4.
Their winning books for the best gateway fantasy in this tournament were The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis, Redwall by Brian Jacquet, and the most excellent The Eye of the World by Robert Jordan. Hard to argue with such strong picks, and that's why they won with a strong final vote. It was really cool. We had 30 different competitors enter into the tournament.
It's crazy.
So, a lot of fun. We love that so many people wanted to play along, and we'll be sure to have another one in the future.
Is this the point where we reveal what our picks would have been, or are we doing that later?
We're going to do a special midweek episode on that before too long. We'll talk about Gateway Fantasy. We'll talk about many of the ones people suggested, and yes, we'll reveal which ones would we go with.
So you'll have to wait until then if you're listening.
There you go. Although if they're listening now on a recording, it might already be out. They just need to check our feed.
Perhaps.
So last time we recorded, we talked about having gotten up to 440 Twitter followers, and we talked about how cool it would be. I think you were the one that mentioned it. Maybe I did. I don't remember. When we'd hit 444.
Yeah, who got to be 444?
We did it. We did it. Okay, so the winner of the You Get Nothing 444 award is the Twitter account of Miss Itaralda.
Congratulations.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, we're up to 446 now today, so people keep finding us, loving it.
We keep going,
having some fun
and
with us.
I'm excited to later eventually announce whoever is follower 4444. One day.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, there are people way out there. I don't know if we'll ever get there. We'll see.
It's a goal.
We also picked up a couple of new Discord members this past week. So great to have some more people in the conversations there. It's been active already even this morning. Just love having more people to talk about with all of our love for fantasy fiction. Anything going on in the world of the Wheel of Time besides our podcast?
Nope, can't think of anything. Oh, wait. Only like the biggest thing in years, as at the end of this week, less than a week from today, we are finally getting 3 episodes of that first season, that Amazon Prime show, The Wheel of Time. It'll be a great time, and I, for one, am super looking forward to it.
Yeah, definitely. Can't wait for that. It's going to be great. Definitely going to spend some time next Friday glued to a television screen. More than just 3 episodes. It'll probably be more like 9 episodes, because I'll just keep watching. Okay, let's get to some content, shall we?
I guess.
Today's content from The Dragon Reborn begins with Chapter 37, Fires in Cairhien, as we shift back to something completely different. Our girls, Egwene, Nynaeve, and Elayne.
Woo!
What are they doing when we come upon them, Zach?
They're rolling down a river. Or something like that.
Oh, yeah. Something like that. And remind us, why are they rolling down the river?
Because they're on their way down to Tyr. Specifically, they're on the hunt for the Black Aja, which we most recently had discovered, though it might be a trap, might not be. They are headed down to hunt down those 13 Black Sisters that ran away from the tower, stole the Terangrial, and seem to have gone towards Tyr.
That's it. As we specifically join the action, they're on this ship called the Blue Crane. And it's just sailing past a burnt-out town to their left, which is the Cairhien side of the river, where, for as long as they've been watching, no one appears to be alive. Not this town, not anything they've seen, all the way sailing down here since they've gotten to the side of Cairhien.
Well, that's not great.
Why? Why are they seeing it look so devastatingly horrible over there, Zach?
I mean, to the best of my knowledge, it's because Cairhien is more or less in civil war.
So Iron Man is going up against Captain America?
No, more like, actual civil wars, the kind that lead to feuds between a nation within itself, often political jockeying for power, and hurts its citizens the most.
Gotcha. So the order of the realm has collapsed. There's mad chaos everywhere. Women and children running, screaming, all that.
And men. They can run and scream too.
Oh, I'm sure they can. Well, today the chapters We've got 3 chapters to cover. They're all from Egwene's point of view. So as we join them here, Egwene is, looking out at the mess over there, but she's also more so looking around at the ship. And this is interesting. We're getting a reminder of something essential to Egwene's character, because she's following along and watching what the sailors are doing with the goal of learning something about sailing.
Definitely. She does not look at anything in her life and not wonder, how do I do that?
Exactly. She's insatiable for knowledge. Now, as she's paying attention to the sailors, she's reflecting on various things, pieces of information gained over the last few days, because it has been a few days sailing down the river since we've been with them.
If you have a map, being able to see going from Tarvalon down to any part that might be considered Kyrian, it's a little bit of a journey.
It is. They've still got a ways to go to Tyr, though.
Definitely.
And it reminds us, I'm glad you mentioned it, of the scope and breadth of this continent. It's not all right up against each other. I mean, traveling these distances by boat or horse or whatever, it does take days and days and days and days.
That being said, don't take a unit of measurement to a map. Robert Jordan didn't give us any things for scale intentionally so that we don't get to do math.
That's right. He applied the Doctor Who principle. It's all higgly-wiggly.
Wibbly-wobbly.
That's the word I want. Thank you very much.
Yes, wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey.
So what is in Egwene's thoughts as we join her here? Well, one is that she's, seeing as she moves around the ship, all the sailors bowing to her. A lot of reverence and respect. And that's because they've allowed the sailors to think they're Aes Sedai. No lies.
I mean, they didn't tell them that they were Aes Sedai. They just, flashed those great serpent rings and were like, you can think what you want.
Yeah, but you were doing something wrong just there, because you held up your left hand.
Yeah.
Oops.
I did something right.
No. See, that's wrong.
No.
Because they have them on their right hand.
I don't think so.
Yep. The book
Do
says
they
it
actually?
clear. They're wearing their hands on the right hand instead of their left. Because the right hand means Aes Sedai, left hand means only accepted.
Other way around. Right? I'm not crazy, right?
Left hand means accepted.
Really?
Right hand, yes.
I could have sworn that Aes Sedai was the wedding finger. Because it's like they're wedded to their oaths. Like, not really, but like, technically they aren't demanded to wear it on that finger, but they do. I thought.
Yeah, Discord, Jordo is telling us Aes Sedai can wear it on whatever finger they want. On either hand.
The end result
but
that
the
we're
book
seeing
here
here
at this
is
point specifically said what I just put in my notes.
well, the end result here is Zach has no idea what finger anyone ever wears a ring, including what finger married people wear it on here and today.
Or if they wear a ring, right? Who knows? Well, regardless, they have intentionally worn the ring where most Aes Sedai do, is the point. So when they're flashing that ring on that preferred hand, all the sailors assume they're Aes Sedai, and they don't correct them. This ship and the entire crew, they're native to Tarvalon. So, believing there's Aes Sedai on the ship, yeah, they are very deferential. They are happy to do whatever these women want and to the best of their ability. No questions. In fact, they feel it's an honor to have 3 Aes Sedai traveling with them on their ship. This decision to wear the ring as if they were Aes Sedai, that's something Egwene had come up with.
Okay.
And we get the sense Nynaeve and Egwene had kind of argued about it, but Egwene managed to win the fight, win the argument. There are other things they've been arguing about. We're going to get to that.
Okay.
But in this particular argument, Nynaeve was like, fine, we'll do it. But she still didn't think it was going to work.
Why's that?
Nynaeve's like, Egwene and Elayne look too young. Nobody's going to buy that they're actually full Aes Sedai. It doesn't matter where you wear that ring. That's what she thinks.
Nynaeve's wrong. Sometimes she's not, but this time she clearly is. And I'm going to say it's for a couple of reasons here, at least possible. One, Egwene and Elayne definitely are prideful enough that they can pull off pretending to be Aes Sedai. I don't think they're going to have any issues with that one. Two,
it's how you carry yourself, yes.
the whole agelessness thing kind of helps not having to worry about looking too young or anything like that. When you can't really tell how old someone is, then it doesn't make you question so much, do they look young?
Although we do get the sense when they get that agelessness, that's not the same as looking young.
No, but it's not the same as looking matured and aged either. You can still have that agelessness and look younger or older. It's more of just an inability to tell where in a span of like 30 years you would place them.
See, Nynaeve would agree with you there, and she'd say, and you two? Yeah, no one has that issue. They can tell you're teenagers.
But apparently can't. And the last possible reason that I kind of sit here and go is even these people who are native to Tarvalin, it kind of goes to show how little the Aes Sedai really venture into the world, that people aren't readily exposed and going, yes, I know exactly what Aes Sedai do, think, and act. I'm going to spot all of them. It's like, no, you can fake pretty easily.
All right. Again, the captain, the crew, they've bought into it, though. So this is almost irrelevant. They're just fine. You're Aes Sedai. And the captain, he promises to keep them all safe from the brigands who've been wreaking havoc, especially on the Kyrianan side of the river. We will just get you where you need to be, as safe as can be. That is my commitment to you.
Mm-hmm.
We also learn that Egwene has continued to use the Dream Terangrial most nights.
Okay.
And she's learned nothing helpful,
Fantastic.
nothing new, nothing additional about the Black Aja. Yeah.
We love to see it.
It's actually rather frustrating. Egwene feels like she's stumbling around in the dark, and she's like, wouldn't it be nice if there was an Aes Sedai who knew something about Teleron Riyadh that I could talk to?
Wouldn't it be nice?
But
we can't trust them. All the Aes Sedai are suspect.
Nice. Now, there were 2 nights she hasn't used the ring. Why? Because she let Nynaeve try for one night, and she let Elayne try for the other night. And they learned even less than Egwene.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that crazy to imagine that A, the one that is suspected to be a dreamer might be a little bit more of a natural to figure things out like that, and B, the one who's had the most practice is the best at moving around and figuring things out.
Mm-hmm. Now, aside from the Terangrial, just regular sleep,
Yes.
man, Egwene's dreams are going off the hook. They're like overboard, packed with meaning.
That's terrifying.
And she can't tell, are these real dreams? Is this stuff that's significant because I'm a dreamer, or is this just me worrying about stuff? But she's leaning more towards these are dreams, capital D. People listening can't see my quotes in the air, but dreams.
But if you happen to be a patron and are here with us on Discord, you could see it.
That's right. There you go. Air quotes. So just a real quick rundown of the things that come to her. And this is our spoiler-like content. I'm going to put it right out here. Every frickin' one of these means something big.
Oh, so we're declaring these dreams are capital D dreams.
Absolutely. We're just light spoiling. We're not going to tell what they mean, but the point is, if you're a first-time reader, you want to remember all of these. Bookmark it, highlight it, post it on your refrigerator. I don't care what you do, but remember this stuff.
I recommend you don't actually post it somewhere like on your fridge, because you will run out of space if you keep doing that.
Oh, because things like this come up from time to time? Is that what you're suggesting? All right, so first we've got the dreams about Rand. She sees him holding a sword that blazed like the sun, and she sees him threatened in a dozen different ways, none of which seem real, just indication of very real danger. What does she see about Perrin, Zach?
Well, she sees him with a wolf, and with a falcon, and with a hawk. And specifically the falcon and the hawk, they're fighting.
Meow, meow, meow.
That sounds like cats.
That really wasn't bird sound, was it?
No.
Whoops.
And she also sees Perrin running, but running from something deadly. Kind of a similar being threatened situation, but he's running, and jumps off a cliff, and it really looks like he's gonna either somehow learn to fly, or he gonna die. But,
Well, in the dream, she actually sees him saying, I need to learn to fly before I hit the bottom.
It's like one of those things of you jump off and start flapping your arms and hope it works. Hope it works. Please. Nope.
Flap faster. Flap faster.
And finally, something about an Aiel There's somewhere some mixture of an Aiel with Perrin and something. Have we heard anything about Perrin and an Aiel?
Not in dreams, but yes, we certainly have, haven't we? Then she has one dream about Min, springing a trap of some kind, but somehow walking right through it without seeing it. Means something. And then there's some dreams about Matt. What do we know about Matt?
Well, he's got some dice spinning around him. Surprise, surprise. He's also being followed by a man who isn't there. Or maybe it's multiple men who also aren't there? Very confusing. And then Matt with a woman who seems to be an illuminator, tossing fireworks about.
Just one over there, bang! One over there, bang! Here, one for you, bang!
Honestly, it's a really fun time just walking around with like a handful of firecrackers. You light one, you throw it up, make sure you time it so it explodes before it hits the ground. If you've never done it, be very careful and safe. I do not condone you doing this, but it is fun.
I'm laughing because Discord just pointed out, hey, we've got sparkles finally. We're back to the vampires again. I think that was before we started recording.
Oh, it was.
Sparkly vampires. Now we've got sparkles. Here you go. Thanks, Jordo. All right, there are a few more dreams that aren't tied to anybody in particular that she knows. But again, hugely significant. She dreams of people breaking out of a cage and putting on crowns.
Huh.
She dreams of a woman playing with puppets, and one where puppets are being controlled by larger puppets, who are in turn being controlled by larger puppets, and on and on and on.
Ah, so Pinocchio broke bad. Got it.
She dreams of kings dying, queens weeping, battles raging.
The usual.
Dogs and cats fighting everywhere.
No, they're falling out the sky.
I added that last part. Yeah. She dreams of white cloaks in the two rivers. Icky.
They don't belong there.
No. And she dreams of the Shanchan. Oh, goody.
Is that one a capital D dream or just PTSD? The world may never know.
Wistfully here now, Egwene thinks of how nice it would be to visit her home again, sans white cloaks, to see her parents. But she can't do that until, of course, she is full Aes Sedai. That's in her thoughts. There's no way she could return yet. She's got a mission to fulfill, one of those things being finishing her training. What do you think, Zach? Will Egwene ever return to Emond's Field?
I may be mistaken, but I feel like very early in the first book, she and Rand had a conversation, and she was more on the side of going, I might never come back, and, that's okay.
Of course, going back versus just visiting are two different things.
I guess you could say there's a difference between will I go back to Portland or will I visit you for Christmas or something.
And trust me, my son, I would love to have you visit us for Christmas, but don't move home. Please don't move home.
I'm not planning on it. You're welcome to come here too.
I'm turning your room into a shop already.
Really?
No, that's a lie.
I thought the room was the guest room, and it was the guest room since before it was my room.
It is the Alaska room, all decorated in an Alaskan theme for when guests come. And now Melissa's room is also turned into a guest room, thanks to that bed we just got from her. So, yeah, guest rooms everywhere. You're welcome to come be a guest. Yes, then go away.
That feels accurate.
All right. At this point, her ruminating is broken up by Elayne joining her on the deck. Elayne's wearing sturdy wool attire instead of the usual silks and fancy clothes that, someone of royalty might wear. And that's in part because of an argument that Nynaeve won.
Oh, yeah?
Where Egwene wanted them dressed in their best clothes, part of the Aes Sedai appearance. Nynaeve's like, we need to go cheaper, because there's no telling how fast we're going to go through these coins that the Amyrlin gave to us. And they've learned, actually, as they've been traveling, Matt was right. The Civil War has jacked all the costs. And things are going much more expensive than anticipated in normal times. So, we need to be careful with funds. So they've all got just plain, very usable clothes.
Look, a silver penny was more than any of them had seen before leaving the two rivers. While for Elayne, it was like something to spit on. But now, it's still something to spit on because it doesn't buy you a loaf of bread.
Elayne tries to strike up a conversation about that situation on the Kyrianan side, how terrible it is. And she's a little irritated that Egwene doesn't seem bothered more than she is. But Egwene simply notes, well, there's nothing we can do about it, so why get all worked up about it? It's no point fretting. We have a mission to go to Tyr. That's where our focus needs to be. And then Egwene's like, so, Elayne, I don't understand, though, why you're so worked up about the Kyrianans. I mean, aren't they kind of enemies of Andor? You've done, lots of fighting. Now, Elayne gets a little ticked in the back of her mind. Doesn't say it out loud, but when Egwene says, haven't you guys been fighting with the Kyrianan? And Elaine's like, Egwene.
Egwene, the Two Rivers is part of Andor too.
Yeah, you are our country, yeah. That's an old argument that we're not going to get into right now. But Elayne points out, yeah, we have fought with the Kyrianan quite a bit, over, centuries, in fact. But, to be honest, since the IU War, these last 20 years, we've just been giving them a lot of food. I mean, they've been buying it, but we've been really the breadbasket for this country. We've been giving them as much grain as Tyr has been sending upriver. It's kind of hard not to feel bad for people when you've been helping them be fed and then see them fall apart and go hungry and suffer.
Also, the realistic part of my brain goes, Elayne might actually be legitimately she cares. But most of the nobles in Andor probably are more, they care about the money that they get for feeding. And if there's a war, they don't have the money to pay for the feeding.
Well, that's true as well. Egwene then makes a completely non sequitur comment as she realizes what one of her dreams means. Mat is being chased by a gray man.
Well, shit.
She feels like a fool for not... Ooh, we haven't had one of those come in for a while. Thank you,
It
Zach.
felt like it was necessary.
Hey, I'm thanking my son for swearing on an episode.
To be
What is
fair,
that?
when we started this podcast, you told me to swear because you wouldn't.
What?
I mean,
I told you
was
to
it
swear.
exactly that?
Prove it.
No. Was that you saying, your generation swears, you should be willing to? And I went, okay, that's permission.
Oh, Jordo. Oh, what you just did. He just said it's Zach's duty. I do
Indeed
not
it
want to
is.
think about Zach's duty, because I had to deal with
Hey,
Zach's duty.
it is heavier than a mountain.
No kidding. Okay, moving on. So, she's finally realized it's a gray man. That's what's been chasing Mat. And now I finally know what one of my dreams does mean, and I can't do anything about it. Because Mat's out of touch. He's way down the river ahead of us somewhere.
I mean, they don't actually technically know that. They just know he's very different than where they are. They don't know he took a boat.
I guess. Probably could guess.
Yeah.
But Elayne, she just wants to derail this altogether and basically say, so a gray man after Mat? Why? Elaine's thinking, that letter I sent from my mom, it's not that important. I mean, why in the world would a gray man be attacking Mat over that? Okay, to me, Zach, this highlights a failing of the focus of Elayne. And I'd add all the girls share this focus. I want to know if you agree.
I'd go a step further. Every character that could be considered a protagonist in this series, at least at one point, but for the most part throughout this entire series, I think share this failing. And that's that they have their own perspective, thoughts, and opinions kind of in the forefront of their mind, and they often ignore things that don't fit into that worldview. And so when they think of, I'm focused on this and this is what's important, why would someone be after that for that thing? I just asked them to do this. That's not important enough. Completely forgetting about the fact that they might be doing something on their own that is important enough.
Yes. People in the Wheel of Time have a real hard time seeing things from another perspective.
They all suffer from main character syndrome. And to be fair, they all are. So, I guess?
Before they can talk much more about this, though, the ship suddenly lurches. They practically fall over, because it's just run up onto what turns out to be a sunken vessel just under the waterline. Now, this brings Nynaeve up from below, and she goes straight up to the captain and the sailors who are at the front of the ship going, "What the heck just happened?" Returning to the other two, As Nynaeve comes back, the captain is trailing her, and he's trying to talk her out of what she has told the captain they're going to do now.
And what's that?
See, having been running fast to deliver the Aes Sedai to their destination as swiftly as possible, they missed there was a sunken vessel in their way, which is likely the work of brigands, and they're stuck. They're stuck but good. They've really determined there's no way we're going to get off of this.
Wait,
We're going to have to wait for another ship to come along that's big enough to be able to help us get off.
What's but good? Is it different than but bad?
But good is bad. Yeah.
I was so confused by your words. But
You have not heard that turn of phrase?
but good? No. Is it 1 T or 2?
Seriously. It's 1 T. I don't want to think about things with 2 T's that are but good. We are not that kind of podcast. Hello.
I just didn't know. I was very confused. What is but good?
If something has been done but good, it means it's been done really effectively, really to the nth degree.
They're just well stuck.
But good.
Got it.
Yes. But that's bad. In this case. All right. So, since they're stuck, the captain is saying, someone will come along eventually who can help us, but there's no way to know how long. I mean, it might be someone comes by in an hour or 2, or maybe it's a day or 2. And I'm sorry, I don't know.
To be fair, if there's a boat here that was stuck because brigands sunk it, the fact that someone might be by in an hour or 2 doesn't mean they're by to save you. They could be there to rob you.
Well, there's always that possibility, too. Regardless, Nynaeve is like, we don't have time to wait. Okay, you knew we were on a mission and we needed to get somewhere fast.
They're on a mission.
So we need you to row us to shore so we can continue on. And we're going to go up to the next village and we're going to try to find a ship that we can get on and continue on. And, that's fine. We'll walk near the shore. If you get free sooner and come along and find us, we'll get back on. That's fine. But we need to make best time. Now, here's where the real problem is. I mean, the captain's mortified that they're going to leave the ship. But then he's like, okay, if you're going to leave the ship, go to the right, the Andorran side. It's fairly safe over there. The next town's about 15 miles ahead. And hopefully you'll catch a ship there. But Nynaeve's like, yeah, what about the other side? Well, yeah, there's a town, Jareen. It's about 6 miles ahead, and it's in the control of the Andorran troops. But all the 6 miles until you get there, that's a mess.
No man's land.
There's danger. I mean, there's brigands and all sorts of bad things that could happen to you. And Nynaeve, she pulls that arrogant Aes Sedai thing. It's like, do we look like we're helpless?
I mean, no, but at the same time, if you really weren't that helpless, why couldn't you, channel some water and float the boat a little higher, get unstuck, or, air and chop through the boat that's sunk underneath? I'm just saying, you could probably unstuck your ship.
Is that a plot hole? Why did they not think about that at all?
Well,
that's not even considered.
To be fair to them, is it outside their range of skill and power at this point? Maybe? And the captain, for sure, would not have asked it, because that's really rude and not cool.
The real problem here is that Robert Jordan wants them off the ship.
True. And when the author says get off the boat, you get off the boat.
You get off the boat. That's right. So they want to be over there on the Kyrianan side. Now, there's a character thing that's driving this. Because Nynaeve, she is dug in her heels on insisting this is what will happen for 2 reasons. One, the captain's saying, this is a bad idea. Don't go on that side. So, of course, Nynaeve's like, we're not helpless. We're going that side.
And the other?
Egwene had challenged it. She's like, Nynaeve, really? Us getting off the ship? Do you think that's a good idea?
Egwene, have you never heard of reverse psychology? Probably not, because I don't know if psychology is something that exists in this age. Maybe the Age of Legends, but not in this age.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, you're right.
It exists in the world, just not this age.
Well, yeah. Now, Elayne is looking at all this, and she's getting a little sick and tired of this. she's been seeing for days and days now. If Egwene says something's black, Nynaeve says it's white, and vice versa. So as soon as Egwene questions it, now there's no any way under heaven that Nynaeve's not getting off this shit.
And to be fair to them, they don't have the ability to pull out their phones and Google who's right.
Yeah, that's the first stage. Whoops. So, okay, sure enough, the captain has to row them over, get some of his sailors, get them down in a dinghy, and off they go to the Kyrian inside. As soon as they're off the ship, and off that little boat and on shore, Egwene just starts walking south towards the town. She doesn't wait for Nynaeve and Elayne to be ready. She just goes because, well, I'm going to be the one in the lead now. And here again, Elaine's just shaking her head. It's like, come on, girls. Stop it. As they walk, Egwene announces that if they do run into trouble, like brigands or something, I'm going to defend myself. What does she mean by that, Zach?
She means she's going to blow them up with fire and earth, probably.
A la White Cloak incident.
Yeah. And to be fair to her, Nynaeve, begrudgingly, does agree. But she does stick to what she's been doing with her whole let's live by the oaths thing and says only if absolutely necessary, which, if you remember, works out fine because you can in the defense of your life, another sister, or their warder.
That's right. But then they don't talk about this any further because the conversation comes to a halt as somebody stands up practically right in front of them, seemingly out of nowhere.
Hello there.
End of chapter. Obviously, we have to go right back on continuing here. This is one thing I'll give Robert Jordan some props. When he does something where obviously there's imminent impact, he usually goes on in the next chapter to continue the story. It doesn't tend to leave us too badly, at least not this early in the series.
We aren't always that kind. Sometimes we'll end our episode and leave you hanging because we're sadistic, but not today.
We have some sympathy. I mean, we're doing 3 chapters today specifically for this reason. We can't leave them hanging at one of the ends of these chapters.
We'll see how long it takes us, because we're on a roll here. It's been fun so far. Let's keep going.
Yeah, we got to keep moving here. Yeah. New chapter. It's called Maidens of the Spear. The girls are freaked out at this person rising right in front of them. Up. Egwene even screams and then embraces Saidar. And she can see peripherally Elayne has done that as well. Nynaeve has not embraced the source.
She ain't mad, she just spooked.
Well, that's it. Egwene's not sure. Is it that she's not mad? Or is it that she's seen something in this person in front of them that they had missed originally? Because as she looks more carefully now, she sees this person is a woman no older than Egwene.
That doesn't mean they're not dangerous.
Well, that's what Egwene thinks, because Elayne seems to relax at realizing, oh, it's just a girl like us, and she releases the source, but Egwene is hanging on to that sucker. She's been a Shanchan Damane. She knows women can be bad to you, and she's very cautious in the unknown situations. So just who do we have in front of these girls? Well, we get a description of blue-green eyes, reddish short hair, except for a narrow tail in the back.
Got the rat tail going.
Every time I read this, I remember, okay, this was written in the early 90s.
Rat tails were popular.
And the rat tail was a fad. It was big back then. And I'm like, all right, I get that.
Do you remember one of my friends in middle school who still had a rat tail for a long time?
Which one? Hunter came to mind, but it wasn't Hunter,
was it?
Brian. Brian did that?
He had it for like 2 years there.
Yeah, we've got a picture in the Discord of basically a mullet. That's not quite what we're looking for. If anybody finds a meme of the tail, plop it in there. I want to see it. You might have to go outside of Discord to find the picture, because we mostly want to forget those existed.
He liked it, but it didn't look good.
But that's what she's got. She's got this little tail that goes down to her shoulders. Otherwise, nice short hair. She's also dressed in all browns and grays, mostly clothing that could move very quietly, not hard surfaces.
So either a rogue or a ranger. Got it.
Yeah. Egwene recognizes from this look that this is an Aiel. This is what Aiel look like. Not only is it an Aiel, but since it's a woman, dress like this, she knows this must be a maiden of the spear. Ding!
Now,
chapter title.
I need to ask because I don't remember. Has Egwene met any Aiel at this point?
Nope, not yet. We've had different groups of our people who have.
Yeah.
Egwene has not been with any of them.
I want to give her credit because so many people, when they have met Nynaeve for the first time, it takes them a solid minute to figure out what they're looking at. And Egwene doesn't. She sees it, goes, Aiel. Oh, woman, maiden of the spear. She connects those dots. It's very astute of her.
Well, Egwene, of course, is all into the knowledge thing.
Yeah.
And she's been in the White Tower learning about the world, too. So regardless of what she may have learned earlier, she's also been getting a lot more in her training these past few months. Now, oddly, Egwene feels some sort of affinity for this woman. She's not sure why. She attributes it to the physical similarities that she has to Rand. Yes! Discord found us a tale.
It's an intense one.
There's a rat tail.
Intense.
Oh, that's a nasty one. Well done, Emmeline. Sadly, that's probably was taken last week somewhere. Yeah, because these things come back. They always do. All these fashions. Anyways. And if any of you listening out here have a tail and you like it, it's all good. Yeah. We're just having fun.
Embrace it.
You be you.
Love it. Have your fun, but also not for me. I'm good.
Yeah, I'm of the age where I keep my hair, finger length pretty much all the way around the head now. What hair I have left. I could grow a tail out of my ear, maybe. The hair just goes nuts in weird places when you get
Dad,
old.
I don't think I want to hear about that yet. I'm trying to pretend it won't happen.
You'll be thankful it happens because it means you lived that long.
I got like 30 years to catch up to you. We're good.
29 for the record. But
29.5. It's depending on when.
All right. Egwene feeling that affinity because Rand looks similar
to I am sure that is
her.
all it is and not something else
that's all it is.
We won't talk about.
Yeah. The woman introduces herself as Heisenberg. Remember my name.
That is incorrect.
Yeah, wrong reference. She is named Avienda of the Nine Valley Sept of the Tardad Aiel.
Mm-hmm.
She is Far Derais Mai, a maiden of the spear.
Okay.
But now I'll harken back to my joke a moment ago. Remember her name.
But, not as a joke. Actually remember her name.
Yes.
I will also point
Spoiler
out and
light.
throw out here, if I ever say her name wrong, it's okay to come at me, but also remember that this is one of the first and most important names that I definitely stole and tweaked a little bit for an important NPC in a D&D campaign.
All right, so how did you tweak it? What did you say it as in your campaign?
Definitely Alvinta, which wasn't...
Wow.
It wasn't that much tweaking and spelling to accomplish.
That sounds like Valvita.
Literally all I had to do was change the I to an L and boom. But yeah, if I do that, I'm so sorry.
By the way, as we work through these chapters here, something I didn't mention earlier, your mother just finished these 3 chapters.
Ah, fantastic.
Like literally this morning, she finished chapter 39. So yeah, she just went through all this.
I still don't
Loved
expect her to listen to our podcast, though.
Oh, no. Although I did play for her a little bit of the last podcast, which drops tomorrow, where we talked about her. Yeah, and she wasn't close enough, but she wanted to hit me. She's like, stop talking about me. So what did we do in this episode?
We talked about her.
Oops. Back to where we were. Avienda says, we saw your rings, which we know are worn by the women like Aiel Wise Ones, those called Aes Sedai. Are you women of the White Tower or not? Now, Egwene wonders at the mention of we. She's looking around. I don't see anybody else.
Egwene, you didn't see anybody a moment ago till she stood up. It's a we. Assume it's a we.
Now, Jordo dropped in Discord wise women. Did I say wise women?
I don't know if you said wise women or wise ones. I'm gonna be honest.
I should have said wise ones. If I said wise women, oops. They're not called wise women.
Is it important to make that
ones.
Distinction? Absolutely. If you were wrong, do I want people to attack you? Absolutely. There's no but.
It's good if our Discordians are keeping us true, though. This is good. And why are you laughing? Because you said but?
No, but I guess now. Where were we?
Oh, where were we? Well, that's where we were. We were at we. She said we. I don't see any we. But Nynaeve, she answers the question, actually. She says, yes, we are women of the White Tower. What do you want? Avienda smiles, actually, at the way Nynaeve responds. Yes, right to the point, just like our wise ones would do. Don't want any crap. Cool. And they share, we have one of our companions who is gravely hurt, perhaps dying, and we understand Aes Sedai can heal. Basically, she's saying, my friend is dying, will you help? And Egwene is struck by how non-emotional the request is. Not, oh, my friend's dying, can you help us out? It's just kind of more like, hey, I want to make some bread. You got some flour? My friend's dying, can you help us out? Interesting. Just the calm demeanor. Nynaeve, of course, agrees to try. That's true to her character. Someone's hurt, I'm going to try to help. But she makes no promises. I can't tell you if it's going to work or not. And how does Avienda respond to that? Death comes for us all. We can only choose how to face it when it comes. Take note, we are getting more insights into the way of the Aiel. Zach, did you just kill the gnat of the day?
Oh, I think I missed it.
Oh, dang it. Those listening, you can't see, but he just, slapped there and, yeah, he whiffed.
I tried to slap a little slower to not make a huge loud clap on the podcast, and, well,
that's why you whiffed.
I missed.
Yeah. All right, so at this point, Jordo, Texas gnats are bigger, like all things in Texas. Yeah, that's good. No, if they were bigger, he wouldn't miss.
Still might.
So now they're going to head off, okay? And two more Aiel women stand up 10 paces away.
Mm-hmm.
And Egwene's like, whoa! There was nowhere they could have been hidden.
Look, I don't know
ahead.
why Egwene is so surprised. She literally saw one woman stand up out of nowhere a moment ago. It's not that surprising that when they say we, that means there's more. And when more just stand up out of nowhere, well, you saw
she
one
had
do
literally
it.
looked around.
Yeah, but she saw one do it already.
When Avienda stood up out of nowhere, they weren't looking specifically for someone. Egwene had looked around. There's nobody here. And then 10 paces away, two women stand up.
Don't you know Aiel have real elvish cloaks? They just, throw it over themselves and look like boulders.
Do not. Liar! Liar! Wrong show.
Why?
Wrong
It's about
series.
the same thing.
One of the women hand Avienda her weapons. So apparently she had chosen to appear weaponless to emphasize, we're not here to hurt you, ladies. The Aiel lead, the women follow. Egwene finally releases the source. She figures, these three could probably stab us with their short spears faster than I could channel anyways, so what's the point?
Mm-hmm.
And, they've asked us to heal their friend. We're probably safe, right?
I feel like that second one needs to be more important, just because Egwene should be smart enough that she could probably, thicken the air around her constantly to give herself some armor or something. But, maybe that's a plot hole where she doesn't think of it. Who knows?
Maybe. As they walk along, Elayne introduces herself to the two new Aiel that are with them now. Egwene stumbles as Elayne casually reveals, I'm the daughter heir to Morghese, Queen of Andor. Is that really a good idea to just drop that information?
It's great. You just give a reason not to kill you. It's a reason to hold you for ransom, but...
But these Aiel women, they don't even bat an eye. It's like, oh, great. And they introduce themselves. Bane of the Black Rock Sept of the Sharad Aiel, and Chiad of the Stone River Sept of the Goshen Aiel.
Remember the names.
Bane and Chiad. Yes, again. Remember.
There is almost no one in the first 4 books that you will meet, and you can bother forgetting their name.
Bane and Chiad then turn to look at Egwene, who takes the hint and introduces herself. Bane asks if the three of them are first sisters. Egwene, thinking, Aes Sedai sisters, answers yes. At the same time, Elayne says no. The Aiel look at them like, some marbles loose, maybe?
If there's confusion, the answer is probably no.
Yeah, Elayne explains that we don't know much of Aiel ways, but then she turns to Egwene and says first sister means women with the same mother, while second sister means their mothers are sisters, which of course in our parlance would mean cousins. Elayne tries to explain away their ignorance of Aiel ways, in part by then saying to the Aiel, I sometimes think of Egwene as a first sister, but we are not related. And then it gets stranger, because Chiad asks, well, why don't you just go to your wise ones and become first sisters? Apparently Bane and Chiad have done this. Okay, we just heard that first sisters have the same mother. How do you just become first sisters?
Like adoption, but like without needing a mother to adopt. You just like sibling adopt.
The rest of this conversation as they walk along is a comedy of errors. They're stumbling through these misperceptions of each other.
Gotcha.
Such as, we learn maidens of the spear fight in battle.
Correct.
Yeah. But they don't like men.
I mean,
that's not exactly true.
Maybe some of them. Maybe. Just like, some women don't like men. Period.
They don't wed men. Now that's important, because instead they wed the spear. They refuse to be bound to any man or child, because they are bound to the spear.
That being said, that's not too crazy considering most Aes Sedai don't wed and feel more wed to their oaths and their ring than they do a man. Most.
Maidens of the spear may give up the spear for a man or child. They may choose to do that, but that's a one-time pick, because there's no take-backs.
No take-backsies.
You now are no longer a maiden of the spear. They also can give up the spear if chosen to go to Ruidian, as a wise one cannot be wedded to the spear.
Remember that.
Yes. Other things we learn. Maidens do not dance the spears with one another, even when their clans do. Okay, what's dance the spears, Zach? We've heard some hints on this before.
Stabby, stabby.
Stabby, stabby, yeah. Now, Bane and Chiad's clans have held blood feud for over 400 years. Now, that's a long time to hold a grudge, I'm just going to say. But the two of them chose to marry, it says. And they decided that being married alone wasn't strong enough because of that long-standing feud. Again, they wouldn't fight each other because they're equally maidens, but with their clans having this long-standing blood feud, they decided we need to bond more strongly, so they became first sisters. Next level connection.
So they're both maidens, they're married, and they're sisters. End of story.
Yes. And they did it by speaking particular words before the wise ones of each of their respective clans. That's what made them first sisters. And what does that mean now in practicality? Well, they guard each other's backs. And this is the one that really turns the heads of Egwene and Elayne, no man may come to one of them without coming to both of them. Come to being a euphemism that we should all understand.
But at which point we see the Andorans go, wait, polyamory is a thing?
Apparently. Now, the Aiel feel, okay, we've clarified things now. I hope that was helpful. And Egwene and Elayne are like, sure, thanks, but they are completely lost. They have no context for any of this. So they can say thank you, but they don't understand how the Aiel do things at all. Chiad then asks again, so why don't the two of you choose to become first sisters if you feel as you do? And Egwene and Elayne have a moment of feeling very awkward because the book intimates that in their heads, they're both picturing sharing a man.
A specific man.
Yeah, it would be Rand, based on previous times of recent thoughts and all. And yeah. And Elayne, she notes, okay, there's no need. We already guard each other's backs. But that really confuses the Bane and Chiad. Because they're like, you're Aes Sedai, which is like our wise ones. Why would you need protection? Who would harm a wise one?
White cloaks.
Yeah, again, we're getting a sense things are different for the Aiel than they are over here. They are saved from more awkward talk as they come upon the rest of the maidens, including the injured one, a woman named Dylan.
Is that how you would say that?
It sounds wrong because I know we're going to know someone else named Dylan eventually, but how would you say
Oh,
this?
I have no idea. I
Dalen?
was just asking. This is one of those names.
Dailin.
Dylan
So
looks
Dai,
probably right.
I would say is
Yeah.
die.
Yeah.
So
Sure, you're
Dylan.
wishing this one to die. We know where you stand.
Anyways, poor Dylan
Is
took
dying.
a sword to the gut. Yeah, it's a nasty wound, and typically these sorts of things are fatal. Nynaeve questions them and learns more about the circumstances, but this whole conversation she has is totally pointless. I mean, we're going to cover some of the things we learned through the conversation, but really, Nynaeve's focus is just to get enough information to get all irritated and angry. Why, Zach? Why is Nynaeve just wanting to get angry?
Because she needs to be able to channel. Sorry, that took me a solid minute because I was reading the Discord. Oops.
Discord distracted you. Well done, Discord.
I have a short attention span.
So through the chit-chat, we learn the Aiel are very uncomfortable with rivers. See, we're going different directions with things. Swimming is actually frightening to them. They have no bodies of water of any significance in the waste, so the idea of having that much water and having to actually immerse yourself in it, oh, that's freaky.
Yeah, no, in fact, they actually have special suits that recycle their water, and even crying is
Okay,
frowned
we're
upon.
going to that wrong series again. That's a good call, though. I mean, the Aiel and the Fremen from Dune, yeah, very, very similar. Egwene worries that, if things go poorly, the Aiel might turn on us. They only know what they've learned from the past, and Egwene knows less about Aiel than Elayne does, and she's still feeling very uncomfortable here. So, just to be safe, she embraces the source again. And immediately at this point, Aviendha abruptly shares, I would never harm an Aes Sedai. And she clarifies, whatever happens with Dylan, you have nothing to fear from us. We would never harm any woman as maidens of the spear. We just don't do that. But especially, we would never hurt an Aes Sedai.
Interesting.
The Aiel understand that before the breaking of the world, they served the Aes Sedai. Though no story remains that tells how they served. If people know, they don't share it with everybody.
Weird.
They only know that they failed in that service. And therefore, if they fail Aes Sedai again, the Aes Sedai will destroy them. The Aiel as a whole believe this, cling to this. Now, Elaine's like, okay, I want to assure you there'll be no destroying happening here. You're safe. Aviendha's like, well, that's fine, thank you, but it doesn't matter. Because whatever you might do, bringing the lightning, balefire, whatever, we will not fight you. Now, Elaine's like, wait, that middle thing? What was that? Balefire? What's balefire?
But I mean, it's
Aviendha's like,
like stories say that it's super scary and all that, and so we figured, something super scary coming at us. It'd be good to say we won't even fight the scary thing. But I don't know what it is.
They have learned the Aes Sedai in their stories talk of balefire as something Aes Sedai use, but they don't know anything about it personally. It's just something bad. Yeah.
Egwene does have a thought.
Egwene, though, as she's listening, she's like, balefire, yeah, I remember that from my dream. I don't really know what it is either, but I remember knowing what balefire was.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
In a dream.
It's not a dream. She remembers what balefire was from her accepted test.
That's correct. From our reading, but in this point of the book, she says, from a dream.
That feels weird and wrong. Like,
maybe there's also a dream where balefire was involved, and we're just not thinking of that right now. I totally thought exactly what you're saying when I wrote the notes.
It also may just be a little bit of a Robert Jordan dropping us a tiny hint as to what was going on with the accepted test and why those ter'angreal would resonate with the dream ter'angreal.
Maybe.
Anyway.
Yeah. Well, chit-chat at this point ends because Nynaeve's anger has finally reached fever pitch and she can channel. And bam! She heals Dylan. Okay, I said bam, and he swatted for a gnat. Did you get it this time?
No, it got out of my reach. My range is not far enough.
Dude, use the balefire.
I do
Balefire.
not have balefire. I have real fire.
Don't use real fire. Don't do that. Anyways, Dylan has been healed. Just like that, she's all better.
Woo!
She just needs to be cleaned up now and fed and allowed to rest. And that's the end of the chapter.
2 down, 1 to go.
So we move right into chapter 39, Threads in the Pattern. The Aiel are thankful and impressed at the healing. They have wise ones who can do some simple healing, but this was a grievous wound. I mean, she was a goner. They don't think any wise one could have done something like this. Avienda shares Dylan is actually her second sister, which we learned before means...
cousin.
Yeah, cousin. So she tells Nynaeve, I owe you a blood debt. And Nynaeve's like, whatever. But if you want to repay me, tell me about that town just a few miles south, Jareen. Is there a ship there? And Avienda affirms, well, there was one yesterday. So Nynaeve's like, okay, hopefully it's still there. We gotta go. So give Dylan what she needs. Food, rest. Oh, and try to keep people from sticking swords in her, all right?
Don't stick them with the pointy end.
Avienda's stoic response. What comes, Aes Sedai.
Oh, the wheel weaves as the wheel wills.
Pretty much.
The wheel weaves as it wills.
Yeah, I got you the first time. It's
yeah,
all
but
good.
now I'm confused and lost, and I don't remember which way it is.
The wheel weaves as the wheel wills.
Is that correct? It feels.
Come on, dude.
It feels wrong.
Yes. No, that's it.
It just felt wrong coming out of my mouth. I don't know why.
As Nynaeve then tries to get the other two moving. Okay, we got to go because there's a ship, and hopefully it's still there. Jordo put in Discord, the wheel wheels as the wheel wheels. No, that's definitely not it. Anyways, Elayne's like, wait, hold on, Nynaeve, before we go. Because it struck her she wants a little more information. And she asks the Aiel, why are you here? Why have you come so far out of the waste? And Avienda's like, this isn't far at all. Ugh. Would have been a lot farther, except the wise ones didn't want me to go. Kept saying I have other duties. We'll talk about that more later.
We're going to talk more about duties later?
Bane and... No, not that duties. Thank you. You could have got by on that one. Okay. Bane and Chiad add that the reason they've come here is to join the search for he who comes with the dawn. And they drop some deets.
Okay, what we got?
The Aiel prophecies say he will lead them out of the Threefold Land. Remind us what the Threefold Land is.
The Aiel Waste. We do not, at this point, I
call it.
think, know exactly why it's called the Threefold Land.
Yeah, man, I don't remember. Somebody might have explained it back in The Great Hunt, but I don't remember for sure.
Exactly, but I don't recall whether it was then or will it be explained potentially in a later book. So I will wait for now.
The prophecies also share that this person they're looking for was born of Fardarais Mai. Now, if a maiden has a child, she gives it up through the wise ones. They are the adoption agency that keep everything confidential. So, child goes to the wise ones, child gets placed, and the maiden knows nothing more of the child.
Notably, important to mention here, Fardarais Mai can have lovers, have a child, all that. They just can't get married and remain Fardarais Mai.
And they can't keep the child no matter what, unless they want to give up the spear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Motherhood and being a maiden don't go together. Kind of makes sense. It's kind of in the name. I'm a maiden.
Yeah. However, you
I'm not a mother.
theoretically can be a mother, just not the role in like the societal
You can't do
sense.
mothering, right? But because of this prophecy that a child born of a maiden will end up being he who comes with the dawn, they never have trouble placing these foster children. Every other Aiel woman who's not a maiden is more than happy to raise one of these thinking this could be the one. I could be mothering the golden child, However, the wise ones have now popped that bubble.
Yeah.
Because now they're referencing prophecies that the person they've been waiting for is west of the Dragon Wall, which is the mountain range that borders between the Westlands here where they are and the Aiel Waste.
Specifically,
the Threefold Land.
They say it as blood of our blood, mixed with the old blood, raised by an ancient blood, not ours.
And Avienda's like, I don't understand this at all.
It's
I'm just
okay.
listening to how the wise ones interpret it.
Nobody who has heard this really actually probably understands what that means, except for us, the reader, eventually.
Well, and let's translate it a little bit now. If this is, as has been intimated in previous encounters with Aiel, if we're talking about Rand, how does Rand potentially fit that phrase?
Well, we've heard he looks like the spitting image of an Aiel, so if he were to be actually by blood Aiel, and that Tam's fever dream of picking up a child in the snow happened to be a child from a Maiden of the Spear, and then took back and raised in the Two Rivers, where Menetherin, the old blood, sings strong, that could work.
And yet, I think there's a missing piece
There
here.
is a missing piece
blood of our blood, so that's Aiel.
that we have heard nothing about, and I won't say.
Right. And you said raised by the old blood, but no, I disagree with you. Raised by an ancient blood.
Yes, that's
the
what
Two
I
Rivers
meant.
is the ancient blood.
That middle old blood is unknown.
We don't know anything about that old blood yet. Yeah. So that's what we need to look for still. If
Or
that means
don't
Rand.
look for it, because when you look for prophecies to be fulfilled, you're going to think they're fulfilled, even if they're not actually fulfilled. You're just like fulfilling it because you want it to be true.
The conversation then shifts to what the three Aes Sedai are doing, wandering out here on their own. And Nynaeve shares they're on their way to Tyr, and it would be nice to get there before the Heart of the Stone crumbles into dust. And the maidens are all like, say what? They're totally focused in on this. And a little bit of tension or caution seems to be in the air. And Nynaeve carefully responds a little further, we're hunting some evil women. Dark friends. Doesn't point out Black Aja, just dark friends.
That's good.
And the Aiel, they respond with their name for dark friends. Ooh, Shadowrunners.
Yes, they run with
And
the
then they
shadow.
speak with significance. Shadowrunners in Tyr and three Aes Sedai seeking the heart of the stone. Like that means something deep to them. And Nynaeve, she doesn't like that. She snaps at him. I didn't say anything about the stone of Tyr. Just that, we need to get moving before it falls apart. That was just a turn of phrase.
Yeah, it's just
Relax.
like saying, we want to get going before the mountains crumble into dust, or like the oceans rise because global warming.
Pretty much. And with that, Nynaeve literally ends the conversation by walking away. Peace out. I'm gone. And Egwene and Elayne are stuck here going, okay, she's gone. Bye. We gotta go. Zach is losing it as he watches the meme that was dropped into Discord.
Evelyn broke me.
Again, I'm not gonna describe it. It's only good if you're here to see it. Okay, going on. Elayne and Egwene are now chasing after Nynaeve, and as they do so, Egwene brings up her surprise at Elayne admitting that she was Andorran royalty. She's like, okay, you guys, had that whole Aiel war thing in the past, and Andor was one of the ones leading the way and fighting the Aiel. Didn't you think it was kind of risky to admit you're related to the queen?
Nah, I mean...
Now, personally, I think that's a bit naive, a bit naive of Egwene, because it's 20 years ago.
Okay, the 20 years
Why
ago
would that
reason,
be so fresh?
I don't think is a naive reason, because there are plenty of grudges throughout history that last way more than 20 years and often lose their meaning.
Oh, wait. We heard blood feud of 400 years.
It often, loses its meaning, and you don't know exactly why you hate these people, but you hate them and you will absolutely destroy them. So, no, I think that's fair. However...
But Elayne, she comes back, with something different. She's like, no. I don't need to be worried about that. Because, honestly, the Aiel didn't even think of that thing 20 years ago as a war.
It was to everyone
They were
here,
simply...
but to them, nah.
Yeah, they were just coming to execute justice. Literally to execute King Layman, the king of Cairhien, for cutting down Avendoraldera.
That you put an L that
Trying
is
to get that out.
Not
Avendoraldera.
Avendoraldera.
All right. As Emmeline said, that's one hell of a name. That's pretty good. Anyways, it's the special tree that had been a gift from the Aiel to the people of Cairhien. He cut it down. They came to execute him. That's it. That was their whole purpose. It wasn't making war. So Egwene, she reflects then on a lesson she was taught in the White Tower by Varen Sedai, we know Varen, and the details that come from that. Avendor, the hell of a name, was a sapling from Avendosora, the Tree of Life. Now, no one knows how the Aiel got the sapling, because no one knows where the Tree of Life is.
But the Aiel did have it,
somehow.
and they did give it to the Cairhien.
500 years ago is when that happened.
Mm-hmm.
And they named the Cairhien the Water Sharers and gave them this gift. Now, along with the sapling, there was more to the gift. They gave them safe passage. Any Cairhienin could now travel through the Aiel Waste, a land reserved to the Aiel. Anyone normally wanders in there, they're going to disappear. They're going to be taken out, except for gleemen, peddlers, and the Tuatha, the traveling folk.
That's a little bit of a misnomer, what you just said. You said they would be taken out. No, they just would be let to die of thirst.
That's kind of a way of taking them out. Now, since the Cairhienin now are given a pass that they can travel through, they get rich off of that. Because there are lands on the other side of the waste that have goods like ivory and silk and stuff that you can't find anywhere else. Cairhienin go over there, they trade for things, they bring it back.
Lands that
Woo-hoo.
we will not now name, but I promise you will forget about them, and you probably shouldn't.
So, King Elayne, he triggered the Aiel War when he decides to cut down Avendor Uldera to make a new throne out of it. After 500 years, this sapling's grown to this beautiful tree, a direct descendant of the Tree of Life, and he cuts the thing down because he wants a unique throne. This becomes known as Layman's Sin.
He was trying to show how big his sword was, and ultimately it was a mistake.
How big his sword was?
I'm trying to use a euphemism, okay?
This ended then Cairhienin being able to travel the waste safely. So not only now are the Aiel coming to attack to get vengeance, they also lose their key revenue source. People who steal from Cairhien try to go into the waste now get taken as prisoners. And Varen has taught they actually get sold as animals to those lands on the other side of the waste. Where they used to be able to safely trade, now they're basically sold as slaves.
Yay, slavery returns and rears its ugly head.
Yeah. Elayne shifts the topics then at this point, and she wants to talk about how she believes Rand must be this he who comes with the dawn. She quotes from the prophecies of the dragon, "On the slopes of Dragon Mount shall he be born of a maiden wedded to no man." She's like, that fits! And he does look rather like an Aiel. Rand's mother must have been a maiden of the spear. Although, Elayne comments, Rand also looks a lot like pictures she's seen of Tigraine before she vanished.
Still can't believe you say it that
but
way.
she could hardly have been his mother. I know, you don't like that pronunciation, but that is the most common pronunciation in the WoT fandom, for the record. You're the one who's an outlier.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I'll get used to it
Tigraine.
eventually. Maybe.
Why don't you take a moment to use your own pronunciation and remind us of who Tigraine is?
Well, Tigraine is a former queen-to-be in Andor who left and ended up causing a whole mess that was a secession war and ended with Morghese on the throne.
Now, queen-to-be, isn't there a different common turn of phrase for that?
Yes, it's the daughter heir. Ergo, what Elayne is.
Yes, a former daughter heir who then disappears. Now, Egwene knows, okay, Tam and Carrie Althor, they raised Rand. They came to the Two Rivers with him already as a baby, and then Carrie died when he was young, but Tam continued to raise him. But if what Elayne is saying is true, and Moiraine has previously shared similar statements, Egwene's going, that means the Althors weren't Rand's real parents.
I would like to raise issue. That would mean the Althors were not his biological parents. The Althors were
That is true.
absolutely his real parents.
There you go. But that's not what she's meaning when she says what she says. Catching up with Nynaeve, Elayne and Egwene both make complimentary comments about Nynaeve's healing success. They're trying to, let's smooth things over a little bit and get off to a better walking track. And actually, it works for a moment. Nynaeve has a little smile of surprise that they, made such comments. And then they just walk in silence.
Hello, silence, my old friend. That's not how it works.
They're still not getting along super here. There's still some awkward tension. So they just keep moving forward until, in a shocking suddenness, some men appear from behind some nearby trees and attack them and overcome them very quickly by basically knocking them out faster than they can reach for Saidar.
Great.
Yeah. Bam. Next thing, Egwene wakes to find herself tied across the back of a horse with no way to get loose.
Comfy.
And she sees Nynaeve and Elayne nearby, tied up in the same condition on a couple other horses. Egwene's head is killing her, so whatever they did to knock him out has definitely left its mark. And she sees around her a bunch of rough-dressed armed men. She overhears them talking. Not much makes sense, but the one gem she picks up in the conversation is that they were taken because one of them had seen their great serpent rings, recognized it as Aes Sedai, and believes these girls are valuable to someone. They were worth taking. She tries to embrace Saidar. It doesn't work. Her head is still too much in pain.
Hard to focus when you've got a concussion.
Exactly. That's pretty much it. They come to a wooden palisade, a rough little wooden fort gathering place, and she sees a lot of other men they're surrounded by, and one of them notices she's waking up. She's like, I won't cause any trouble. Doesn't matter. Wham! Gets hit on the head, and she's out again.
More blunt force trauma.
The things that really you don't usually do so well from. But in fantasy, you often are just fine. Just shake it off.
Yeah, you can cut off heads with ease, but dying from just a bump in the head? Nah.
When next Egwene wakes up, she's no longer tied to a horse. In fact, she's not tied up in any way. She's lying on a dirt floor in a rather dark room. The only light is that's coming under and through cracks in the room's one door. It's enough light that Egwene can see that both Nynaeve and Elayne are also sprawled out on this dirt floor. And she can see that they're both breathing, although she's a little concerned to see there's blood on Elaine's face. So she might be hurt a little more. But before doing anything about them, Egwene goes to that door. She looks through the cracks. She wants to see what can be seen. And she sees a large room, probably what's the rest of this wooden building that they're in. It's a fairly bare room. All she sees is some tables and chairs and some lamps and about a dozen guys.
Okay.
And they're all just hanging out. And all of them are looking at just one of them, who is standing there at one of the tables. He's playing around with something on the table. She can't tell what it is. But there's a sense of waiting going on.
Gotcha.
And as she watches, the one door to the outside opens up, and another man enters. And he says that the one they're waiting for hasn't arrived yet.
Okay,
so that confirms they're waiting for something. And Egwene, as she's listening then, there's conversation. She picks up a few key things. One, they plan to sell the girls to someone who's willing to buy Aes Sedai.
All right, we got some options. We're going to throw out here maybe some Shan-Chan action, maybe some White Cloak action, maybe some Dark Friend action. None of them are good options.
There are a lot of people who don't seem to like Aes Sedai. Now, of course, they know they're Aes Sedai because of those serpent rings, and she realizes she doesn't have hers anymore. They've taken their great serpent rings. She hears that the women, they believe, won't wake for hours because they force something down their throats that should keep them asleep. Now, that explains the bitter taste that Egwene woke up in her mouth, that they had put something down their throats. But clearly they miscalculated on what it would do since Egwene's awake.
They don't have a lot of practice with the right dosages, and you gotta be really careful you don't overdo it and accidentally kill them, okay?
As Emmeline puts in the Discord, amateurs. Whoever they are looking to sell the girls to, she picks up it's someone unpleasant, someone they'd rather not be dealing with, and that they're looking forward to having this business done.
So you must assume they pay well.
Nothing else to learn here. Egwene wakes Nynaeve, who comes alert very easily, and she shares what she's learned so far.
Man, those drugs were really ineffective.
Didn't do much, yeah. And actually, we find out why they were ineffective, because in describing all of this, Nynaeve, who knows herbs and potions and such, she's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure what they gave us was sleepwell root. And they don't understand sleepwell at all.
It sounds like something that would put you to sleep.
And it does. It helps you sleep. But how it helps you sleep is not really by putting you to sleep. It eases headaches. So if you're having trouble sleeping because your head hurts, sleepwell root is great. But essentially, they gave us something that made the knock on our heads not hurt so much.
They concussed them, and then they treated them for it.
Yes. So they're actually coming around quite nicely now, and these people are gonna be in a world of hurt soon. So Nynaeve goes over to Elayne. Oh, problem. Elayne's not in very good shape.
Okay.
In fact, Nynaeve's inspection of her shows that Elayne's skull is broken.
That's not great.
She got hit on the head, yeah, and it actually fractured her skull. She's dying. Her heart rate is slowing. She's in very bad shape. So Egwene's like, well, heal her. And Nynaeve can't. Because they took her herbs, she says. Okay, what's the point of that response, Zach?
Well, one of Nynaeve's many issues, as she initially learned to accidentally channel in the Two Rivers, just as the wisdom, was that she was actually healing and doing power work, but it was along with her herbs, so it served as a handicap. So, just like Moraine's staff that we completely forget about,
after book 1,
she channels through it.
Yes. Nevertheless, I mean, okay, I don't have my herbs, but I still got to do something. So she starts working herself up and gets herself sufficiently angry so she can channel. And she does, and bam, Elayne is healed. She's whole, she's tired, she's hungry. Nynaeve, though, she's like, oh, that sucked. The experience of channeling without the crutch of her herbs felt very different and very unpleasant because it's not what she's used to.
On the bright side, this now means that potentially she can start learning how to run.
Oh, a learning point. Yay.
Very convenient for the author.
With all three of them well again, it's time to deal with matters. Nynaeve, she's still holding the source. The other two, they embrace it as well, and they all approach the door. They look out through the cracks. Oops! Surprise! Things have changed out there. There's not just a dozen guys now. There's 3 Murdrel in the room with them. All the guys have kind of cleared away from the middle of the room, and there's these 3 Murdrel standing in the center, one of whom is checking out their rings. That's where their rings are. They're out there in the room. And the Murdrel, one of them in particular, is checking these rings out. And not just their great serpent rings. He's actually holding a ring that's on a chain. A heavier gold ring. What ring is that?
Well, that's not the Twisted Stone ring that we've seen previously. Instead, that's the ring we saw way back that originally belonged to Lan and was given to Nynaeve.
Yes. So, Lan's Malkiri ring. And the Myrdril seems very interested in that. And holding it, he confirms, yep, these are the ones we seek. They've been seeking these girls. That's what this tells us. And you will be well rewarded. Okay, the girls are like, we have to take these Myrdril by surprise. There's 3 of them, there's 3 of us. We can do this. So Egwene starts channeling gently at the lock to weaken it. She's being really careful, hoping not to attract the Fade's notice, but she fails. The moment she starts channeling, all 3 of them turn and look at the door, and they talk about, we itch. Are you sure those girls are asleep? So clearly someone channeling nearby triggers something amongst the Fades.
Which
they can sense that.
We already knew, but it's a nice reminder that Myrdril specifically can sense channeling.
Yep. But before they can do anything about sensing that, the outer door swings open and stuff goes nuts. The specific phrase in the book is awesome. black-veiled death flowing in from the night. What does this mean, Zach?
Welcome the Aiel.
Absolutely. We've got Aiel warriors flowing into the room, and in mere moments, every human in there is dead. Two Aiel are down as well, but the 3 Myrddraal are the only bad guys left, standing back to back center of the room with 5 more Aiel warriors circling around them, using their spears to beat a pattern on their shields like drums, and basically taunting the Fades. Dance with us. Come dance with us. Dance with us.
That sounds like an almost fair fight.
Well, the women, watching all this, decide it's time to step in. They open the door. They move into the room. The Aiel, they're taken by surprise. Whoa! Women, whoa! One of them even gasps loudly. The Fades, they also turn to look at the women. They have a different reaction. They see channelers, and they see them as more of a threat than the Aiel. That's okay. The women give them no time to worry about it because they are threats. Elayne, she unleashes fire that consumes all 3 Fades, who start screaming. But at the same time, Elayne uses air that crushes them in upon themselves, turning them, goodness gracious, into a great ball of fire. Sorry, I couldn't help myself on that. And then something shoots from Nynaeve's hands at them, a thin bar of ultra bright white light, and as it hits the Myrddraal, they simply cease to exist. What in the world was that?
Well, Nynaeve, who did it, has no clue.
Egwene recognizes it. Balefire. She doesn't know how she knows that was balefire, but she's quite certain. Nynaeve's just, I was really angry, and I was scared, and I wanted them gone. Well,
it worked.
I did that. Yeah. With the battle over, at least inside, they can still hear fighting going on outside of the building. But these 5 Aiel who are left, they unveil. It's 3 men, 2 women. One of the women turns out to be Aviendha. Nynaeve heads to the 2 fallen Aiel, but one of the men says, there's no point. They took Shadowman's steel. What are we supposed to infer from that, Zach? It's going to clarify in a moment, but right away when you read that, what do you get from that?
Well, we've seen something kind of like this before, or at least assumed. If you think way back to the beginning of the first book, there was this talk of blades that were crafted for Shadowspawn, these Thokandari blades that fester upon being struck, and a mere cut is enough to kill. Clearly, we know that's not entirely true, because Tam's still alive, but I think that's what we're supposed to kind of realize and go, hey, they got sliced in with this, they're dead.
I believe so. Nynaeve is angry, though. She goes over to look at them both and discovers one of them that's dead is Dylan, the one she just previously in the day healed.
Hey.
She's like, I didn't put all that work in only to have her come here and die.
You put all that work in for her to come here and save you.
Aviendha simply replies calmly, death comes to us all.
Whoops.
And then she does actually explain, Shadowman's steel kills, it doesn't wound. Yeah, so you get cut with one of these, you're dead. Now, one of the older men in this group looks over at Aviendha with a little surprise at her explaining something to the women, and she explains to him that the women know little of some things. And in speaking to him, names him Ruark. Again, remember the name, Ruark. The girls are still not sure how to read these Aiel. Wanting to reduce any tension in the room, Egwene and Elayne apologize for perhaps having offended, interfering with their dancing session. And Ruark, he chuckles. He's like, oh, no. I was perfectly happy to have you step in. I mean, yes, we could have probably dealt with the half-men, but, 5-on-3 odds?
It was a balanced fight.
Yeah, 2 or 3 more of us might have died taking them out. In fact, we might have all died taking them out. So some of the younger Aiel, they love to, dance with death and take on a challenge. Yeah, some of us older ones, we're content to have you help. Thank you very much.
If you've survived long enough, it's one thing to be full of fervor and honor. It's another to be eager to die.
Yeah. Nynaeve actually seems to appreciate finally talking to an Aiel with a little more realistic perspective on danger. And then she turns to Aviendha, and while she's thankful for the Aiel help, she questions her. Did you expect to find us here? And Aviendha says, yes. I had followed you after you left earlier, because I was curious just how things were going to go, where you were going, what you were doing. I stayed a ways back, and I saw when you were attacked, but I was too far away to actually intervene, and then they had way too many men, so I went for help.
Mm-hmm.
And then we came. Ta-da! Now, as I went and found other Aiel, this guy, Ruark, he was bonus. He's actually my clan chief. I did not expect to find him.
It was a nice
here.
coincidence.
Absolutely. Ruark notes that, I wouldn't have been here, except Amis, Bear, Elayne, and Siana insisted, saying the dreams said I needed
Adding
to
to
go.
the theme tonight, we're giving you more and more names for you to remember. They're all important.
Remember the names. Also, you should recognize the reference to dreams. Now, we learn that these named women are wise ones, and one of them is Ruark's wife, though right here it doesn't identify which of them
Well,
is his
darn.
wife.
I guess you'll just have to wonder until one day eventually maybe we'll find out.
Yeah, like in a couple paragraphs. But, I am amazed here at how many things are introduced in these 3 chapters that we need to be remembering. There's just such significance dumped so fast. But, okay, Egwene picks up on that comment on the dreams, and she asks Ruark, do wise ones know what their dreams mean? And yes, some do, he says. But they don't give those details to men, so if you want to know more, you're going to have to go and ask the wise women. I did it.
Apparently do.
You're going to have to go ask the wise ones yourself. Perhaps they'll share with an Aes Sedai.
After all, it's woman's business.
Looking at the rings on the floor, Ruark then picks up the one that's on the chain. Mm-hmm. He recognizes this ring as the ring of Malkieri kings, something he heard of as a boy. And he reveals his knowledge of Malkieri history, including its fall to the Blight, and that only a child king survived, a man who courts death like other men court women. Finding this ring here, in the possession of an Aes Sedai, one of 3 Aes Sedai on the way to Tyr, Ruark cites this as the strangest thing he's seen since Elayne chased him off on this quest. And from that, I say, we learn which one is his wife.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Okay, there's just a little left then to the chapter. It's nighttime, so as the Aiel continue to clean up the mess left after the fighting, the 3 women, they grab a few hours of shut-eye. They're not going to leave in the middle of the night now. At dawn, they enjoy a simple breakfast provided by the Aiel, and then they take 3 of the best of the horses that were captured from these brigands that had been killed. The Aiel then release all the rest. Run, pony! Yay, go! Because Aiel don't use horses. They have no need for them. The women then on horseback head for Jareen, and the Aiel accompany them. Now, the Aiel think it's very funny when they notice at one point that Egwene seems to be intentionally trying to keep her horse's movement slow, so the Aiel can keep up. And in fact, they start challenging the horses to a foot race. Aviendha's like, I could beat him over 10 miles. Ruark's, I could beat him over 20 miles. Okay.
We're seeing firsthand.
So,
Aiel can run.
Yeah. Egwene goes ahead and lets her horse move faster, and the Aiel keep up still, not even breaking out a sweat.
It might be, but probably not too much.
Not that you can see. There you go, Emmeline. Run, Forrest, run, in the Discord. As they come into sight of their destination, Jareen, the Aiel finally say their farewells, and they go off another way. And in fact, Egwene swears they pick up the pace. Ruark leaves with the words, "Fare you well, Aes Sedai. May you always find water and shade. Perhaps we will meet again before the change comes."
What change?
And he sounds rather grim at that last phrase. So Egwene's like, the change? What does that mean? Nynaeve, she doesn't care. She just wants to get to the town. We got to find the ship. Let's go.
They're on a clock.
That's right. They move into the town. They find there are 50 Andorran soldiers on guard duty here. They've basically taken possession of the town in case any refugees show up, so they can help them get out and across to Andor.
Definitely.
They're safe here until a ship shows up to transport them. The girls just kind of go incognito now. They don't put their rings back on. They're going to, get on a ship. They hope it will take them all the way to Tyr, and they don't want anybody recognizing them as Aes Sedai as they arrive in Tyr. Plus, they've probably had enough issues with wearing rings now.
Yeah, we've heard Tyrion lords don't really like Aes Sedai.
Yeah. When they arrive there, too, they'd hate to hear, notice spreading of a new Aes Sedai arriving in town.
Be a little sus.
Which, of course, would probably come to the ears of the Black Aja that they're hunting. So, they do find a ship. The poorly named Darter. Because the Darter does nothing like darting. It's a heavy, lumbering cargo ship.
Think of it as a barge.
Pretty much. But it's all they got. The captain says, yeah, you can book passage on here. Yeah, I don't move very fast. But, you're not likely to get another option. Faster ships, they don't bother stopping here. There's nothing here.
Plus,
I only stopped here out of a fluke. So you might want to get on here. Oh, and yeah, your ship, the Blue Crane, I saw them. They're still stuck. They're probably going to be stuck a while.
The good news is he charges by the river mile, not by the hour. So it's not going to cost you more because he's slow.
There you go. They pay the passage, they get on the ship with their horses, and off they go, slowly crawling down the river. And that's where our content will stop for today.
Okay. Well,
at least our Wheel of Time content.
We've got more to talk about.
We do have a question. Yeah. We have a segment here, the Ask Zach and Jim segment. I've got a question from Elayne today to throw into the mix. Her question for us is, are there any particular plot devices or storylines that completely put you off a book or series?
I will let you go first on this one.
My thought is, yes. There's not much, but there's one thing that will turn me off of a series, and that is if there's excessive emphasis on the romantic plot lines. That doesn't do it for me. Now, I'm all good for a love interest, and even some of the more physical aspects of the interactions won't turn me away. That's fine. But if it gets too mushy in driving the decisions of the characters, if they're not thinking straight and it's all for love, and yeah, that turns the plot sour. And to go with a pun, it turns me off. All right, so that doesn't work for me. How about you, Zach?
For me, this one is less about something being included in the content and more how it's dealt with. And it's a little bit going to go dark here for a moment, but any kind of abuse, be it physical or emotional, but specifically sexual abuse, if it's included in a book and just kind of left alone, it really bothers me, and it's really hard for me to like. It's one of the reasons I had a really hard time reading the Thomas Covenant series, because I didn't like how it was handled. But by contrast, if it's something that is used to really make you hate a specific character and focused and dealt with, and you process through something, it can be okay. I have read books that I very much enjoyed that used it as a device, but it really depends on how the author handles content like that for me.
Wow, that got dark.
I did give the warning.
You did. But I can understand how that would be something that doesn't necessarily add to your enjoyment. At the same time, I'll point out there's a lot of that in some of the grimdark
Exactly.
genre. So you may not enjoy a lot of grimdark.
What I've read of grimdark so far does a take on it to intentionally make it grim and dark and gritty, and it looks at these things as harsh and bad, and while it's sometimes in your face about it, it almost has an air of respect to it, rather than just treating it as another normal element, the same as I would magical dragons.
Okay. Fair enough. Well, thank you, Elayne, for giving us a good question that we could go ahead and dig into a little bit. Again, we'll remind anybody, we're always happy to have questions from our listeners. We've got a channel on our Discord server where you can drop those. So that's a plug to join our Discord again. And the invite link is in the show notes of this episode. You can also send them by our email, fantasyfortheages@gmail.com, or connect with us on Twitter or Facebook. Facebook, we might not see it. Twitter, we'll see it right away. But we'd love any questions, anything you'd like us to answer, and we'll get it on an episode. Well, though, I look at that. I just covered all the ways people can connect with us. That's what we want to have happen. One last way you can support the show is to check out our merch shop. Just got a few things there that you can pick up, your own Fantasy for the Aged swag. So a link for that is in our show notes too. But this is where we'll end things if you're a first-time reader. We're going to jump into a quick spoiler room segment to end things today. Full spoil something, but let the free people go who don't want to be spoiled. Bye.
Bye. For those of you still around, the spoiler room.
Yes. All right, let's roll for this and let's do it. I got something in mind. Okay.
Not bad.
I have a 14.
16. I get to go first today.
Oh, you go. Okay, go ahead. Go first.
So,
spoil.
For me, this is our first time meeting a number of Aiel characters. A number of things are talked about. And yet, strangely, what I'm going to spoil here is where Avendasora is. The Tree of Life. It's in Ruidian.
Yes, a place no outsider is ever allowed.
This magical great Tree of Life is it somewhere in the middle of the Aiel waste. And that is why the Aiel had a cutting of it that they could give to the Cairhienin.
And very logical, nobody would guess the Tree of Life is out there somewhere.
It's a small little thing to be able to spoil today, simple, but I think it's a fun little thing. Your turn.
All right. I'm going to spoil when they first meet Aviendha. Egwene describes an affinity. She feels an affinity for her.
and Chandler.
And then just a little later, Aviendha shares, we would never hurt you. We would never hurt an Aes Sedai. Right at that same moment that Egwene had embraced Saidar. Yeah, this is all the very early and initial indication that Aviendha is a channeler. Which, of course, as the series goes on, we learn that is, yes, been identified. She's supposed to go train as a wise one. And in fact, she's going to be a very strong channeler. But Egwene can sense people who can channel. She just hasn't identified necessarily what that always means yet, so she doesn't realize what the affinity is she feels. But that's exactly why she feels an affinity. Not that she looks like Rand. No, she senses she can channel, and Aviendha, likewise, can already see when Egwene embraces Saidar. She sees the glow. She knows what that means. That's why she reacted with the comment, "You're safe here," because she saw her gear up. And now,
I'm proud of us. I think we showed a remarkable amount of restraint in this spoiler room. There's so much we could have gone for, and we held it close to the chest.
We kept it, yeah, okay. All right, good enough then. I think that's where we'll stop here. We're pushing up against almost 2 hours on this episode. Might be our longest.
Maybe.
I'll try to trim it down and edit, but it's still going to probably run an hour 45. So, Flamingo Sedai is still with us. Thank you for making it all the way to the end, our friend. Great to have you here. And we'll talk to you next time.